This is the CMF Watch Pro 1 by Nothing. I found this on Temu for about $60. Just to get this out of the way, I don't review health trackers on these watches, only the functionality of them for notifications, ease of use, the user interface, and how well it can be customized. Given the branding and slightly higher price and the value that the Nothing brand suggests, I had hopes of a highly functional device with good build quality. It looks nice enough with its simple and elegant designs. There are claims of a long battery life and always on display, and having a known brand behind it gives hope that they put some effort into its development. It came in this book-like packaging. Here's the watch body and the watch bands that you put on yourself. It's the type with the quick releases. Here's the magnetic USB-A to proprietary magnetic charger. It really looks similar to the off-brand Chinese budget smartwatches. The watch itself looks very minimalistic, although it feels high quality. There's only a single function button on the side. It's not a rotatable knob. There's a speaker grill below it and the microphone on the back side. After connecting it to the charger, it booted. First impressions, I like the bright, clear display. The surface, which feels like glass, is smooth and has a slight curve around the edges, which makes it easy to swipe on. The animation on this language selection is smooth. After selecting your language, we get a QR code to pair it with. Before we get into the details about the app and the watch, I'll just tell you now that this watch was a disappointment for me. The presentation looks like they put some effort into it, and the materials used on the watch feels premium. However, it seems like the effort stopped there. The inability for any user to customize any part of the user interface makes it inconvenient to get to the feature you want. You have to get into the menu and select what you want. The swiping left and right carousel of apps is not customizable. So if you want a timer or stopwatch, you must go through the menu. Or if you want to use the voice assistant feature, it becomes a multi-step process. Letting users pick and choose what is in the carousel would make things more convenient. Or have a screen where I can set my own favorite functions. As for the battery life, using the always-on display, it was draining at about 25% a day, meaning it would not last more than 4 days. And I'm not even using health trackers, only notifications from a couple of friends that message me. Without the always-on display, it would drain about 10% or less per day, giving it over a week in battery life for my usage. As for the notifications, the vibration motor is very weak. There are many times I don't feel anything even though the watch is strapped tightly around my wrist, especially if I'm actively moving. If I'm sitting still at my desk, I could feel it, but not if I'm walking around or if I'm doing activities such as cooking. The app gives you a preset list of popular apps to get notifications for, and also lets you choose other apps you may have installed on your phone, which is nice. However, for the SMS text notification feature, it will not notify you of MMS messages such as images or group chats. Or if you have RCS enabled in messages, you will not get those notifications. Since RCS is now on by default using the Google Messages app, not having notifications if RCS is activated is very disappointing and is very limiting to what the watch can do. And if you're willing to settle for basic SMS text notifications only, the watch does not even show the contact information with the message. Only the phone number appears, even if the phone number is on your contact list. Even random unknown brands at half the price will show the contact name for the message that came in. Let's try the phone call function. Here's how a phone call sounds like using the watch's built-in speaker compared to the phone's speakerphone.
7 days a week. If that's all you needed, feel free to hang up. Or let me know how else I can help you.
Store hours.
Sure. We're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If that's all you needed, feel free to hang up.
Now here's a voicemail sent using the mic on the watch, compared to using the speakerphone on the phone itself.
This is a recording using the microphone on the Watch Pro. This is a recording using the microphone on the stock phone itself.
Here's a test of the voice assistant, which activates the Google Voice Assistant from your wrist. What's the weather in Lake Titicaca?
It's 51 and sunny. Today it'll be sunny with a high of 54 and a low of 44.
Sure, this is a budget watch if you compare it to the top tier brands such as Pixel watches or Apple watches. But at $60, it's around double that of no-name brands that are all over Temu and AliExpress. And those actually have more functionality and customizability. For example, this Blackview W60 was only $26 and even has a flashlight. This K57 no-name smartwatch goes for around $33.
They both have customization features to make it work the way I need it to. It's worth noting that this watch does have a built-in GPS to track your outdoor activities, something other lower-cost watches lack. Regardless,
this CMF comes off to me as a low-effort attempt to use nothing branding to sell a nice-looking, nicely built watch, but the software and firmware seems even more unrefined than lower-cost off-brand for the reasons I mentioned. If you're still interested, the rest of this video will go through the phone app in detail and also the watch settings in detail. Let's get started with the app on the phone side. It's the CMF Watch app on the Google Play Store. It makes you register either with your Google account or you can just use your email. Give it the permissions it needs, go to the Watch tab and add your watch. It needs more permissions and eventually it found my watch. You could use the QR code if needed. Once paired, go through some more permission screens, mostly for notifications and access to messages. On the Device tab, you get to set up your watch a bit with the Watch Dial Gallery. There's really not much here, and what's here are all styled very similarly with the theme of white, gray, and orange. I find the .teak one to be easy to read at a glance and keeps the design true to the brand. You also get the battery level right on the front. Further down, you get to set up the order of the sports activities you like so you can get to them faster. There's toggles to automatically track the health sensors and activity reminders, like if you forget to drink water. Next, you can choose which contacts appear on your watch for easy dialing. Now comes the notifications, which you can choose which apps to get notifications for. There's a preset section and a custom section if your app doesn't appear on the preset list. Call reminder is notification of phone calls. Alarm lets you set preset alarms. Under More, you can do a Find Watch function. Set the Do Not Disturb and toggle the Wake on wrist raise. Lastly, you get a user's guide web link, device updates, information about the watch software, the watch hard reset function, and watch unlinking. On the Personal tab, the gear icon on top lets you set up third-party services. Change some app functions for the battery use so Android won't shut it down in the background. Here you choose your 24-hour time toggle, read some agreements, policies, and licenses. Then your units of measure. The color theme, which is just dark or light mode. You also get to sign out or delete your account here. Back in the Personal tab, you get your daily goals for steps, calories, and distance you've moved around.
you get a permissions management tool here.
The app update checker, user feedback, and contact information web link. On the Heart tab, it looks like a summary of your activities and sensors. The Activity tab tracks where you've been on the map. Now let's take a look at the watch. The button wakes the device and toggles between the menu and the watch face. Pulling down brings you the quick toggles. The moon one is a do not disturb. This is the flashlight, it just turns the screen white. Here's your brightness toggle, power savings mode, wake on wrist raise on or off, and a settings shortcut. We'll cover more on this later. Swiping left and right brings you a carousel of apps that you cannot customize. You got your activity summary, heart rate measure, your weather, also has an air quality measurement, your sleep summary, and your phone call app. Unfortunately, you cannot customize any of these. Now let's take a look at the settings. You got your watch face settings. You choose your watch face. You got the app viewer. You want the default, which is a list and text, or the grid view. For this watch, I actually like the grid view because you have quicker access to what you want, because with the list view, it takes a while to scroll through all this. So I'm using the grid view. Brightness display, brightness setting, how long to keep the screen on, and if you want to temporarily leave the screen on for about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, up to 20 minutes, you can do so. I think it's for demonstration purposes, but if you turn this on, the screen won't turn off for your set amount of time, but it only does it once. So once it turns off, you have to enable it again. AOD watch face, always on display. You have these choices. I like to be able to look at my watch and see what time it is without having to wait for it to turn on, or sometimes I don't even want to move my wrist and just glance with my eyes. This one seems to be okay. At least there's some color to it. Enable it from 8 a.m. to 8 a.m. always on for me. Smart Enable is supposed to detect when it's nighttime, it'll shut it off on its own, or if you're not moving or something, and it'll shut it off.
The sound setting is to enable and set the volume of notifications on the watch side. This is not for phone call volume or if you play media through the watch.
Do not disturb toggle, always on, schedule it. Haptic feedback. I leave it on strong, although I still don't feel anything. Language. System menu. Here's where you restart, power off. Hard reset. User's guide. It's a QR code you can scan on your phone so you can get a user's manual about some firmware, serial number, other info. Now let's take a look at the apps on this watch. You have your exercise, your records, you have a heart rate sensor, blood oxygen sensor, activity summary, a sleep monitor, a stress monitor, your phone call app, here's your music controls, the camera remote. The camera remote does not activate the camera. You have to activate the camera on your phone manually, and then it will take a picture. You have your weather app, a breathing guide. You can set the duration. The voice assistant. You have a stopwatch. A timer has preset increments. You can add a custom one, like for 10 seconds, but it won't save it. Once it's done, it's gone. You have a calculator, the flashlight app I showed you earlier. Find my phone. And finally, your settings that we went through already.